Today's Mercedes-Benz interview of the day brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. Celebrate the journeys that bring us closer together. An exclusive offer on a vehicle that you'll adore at the Mercedes-Benz Holiday Love Celebration. Going on now through January 2nd. Learn more at mbusa.com/special offers. He's Ryen Russillo, host of the Ryen Russillo podcast. You can check it out on The Ringer and Spotify. Mentioned the story yesterday. It was a great story. And we were there at the Beach Bowl, the DirecTV Beach Bowl in New York. I was doing play-by-play, if you want to call it that. We were hosting all of these starlets, these beautiful people. Ryen Russillo was in the game and apparently had a moment with Megan Markle. We'll talk about shooting your shot there coming up in a moment. He also sent us a picture. We have documentation. There was some magic going on there, apparently. We'll get to that coming up in a moment. Ryen, good to have you back on. How are you?
Great. I don't know how long it's been on since, or how long it's been since I've been on, but the fact that it's this is a big moment for me. So thank you.
Well, I did want to talk to you about NBA stuff. Okay.
Okay.
Paulie thinks LeBron announces his retirement at the All-Star break.
No. He'll
go through the end of the season, but he'll announce that the second half of the season, that's his victory lap.
I don't know. I think he's going to be really weird around the trade deadline first. I think he has another one of those in him.
Well, it feels like there's this groundswell of, hey, let's help out LeBron get to Golden State. When LeBron created what he has in front of him, including drafting his son, getting AD and everybody else involved, and getting J.J. Redick as his coach. Why are we all of a sudden like, yeah, LeBron would be nice if he went out with Golden State and Steph Curry?
Yeah, I think because both teams are desperate. Like when you watch the Warriors, it was such a great start, and you kind of thought, like, is an NBA team really a title contending team based on just depth, right? One guy. Like I think you're probably the same way as me is when I think about really special NBA teams in a season with a chance to win a championship. I'm like, who's the second guy that can get you buckets when the other guy can't? And Golden State doesn't really even have that guy. LeBron can score right now, but defensively, he's somebody that is attacked. He had this incredible stretch when they were winning all those games. You could talk about it being an easier schedule, but I couldn't believe the effort that he was playing with. And I don't know if he was, after that just exertion of energy, just having a hard time after the fact. Look, Dan, I actually feel I'm torn all the time with LeBron because he's out on the floor. We talk about the Lakers and we have to factor them in as a contender. So I almost feel guilty when I'm critical of the nightly production or the lack of defense, because at the same time, like the way he has pushed the boundaries of what we think is possible for a basketball player, it's so impressive that I get just caught in this circle of what am I supposed to do? But if you're talking about the Lakers right now, they're not good enough.
But I don't know if we do this, like Larry Bird wasn't a good defender. Like, would we be crushing Larry Bird now at the end of his career by saying, they're going after Larry and, he hurt. I don't know. It feels like LeBron, it just attracts, detractors. Like they're looking for negatives with LeBron.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is the social media part of it. And I also think that it's a very political thing with Jordan and LeBron. I've yet to see anybody change their mind ever. I've yet to ever see anybody not just sort of push propaganda. And then when I think about, like, I saw a comparison the other day between MJ's last Wizards season, where I always felt like the Jordan Wizards seasons were even more of an argument for how special he was. Like if you go back to that next year, like the first year he played, he wasn't as good. And then the final year, look, like, what did you expect? And now when I'll see people compare, like, well, do you realize that Jordan had this number and LeBron is, I'm like, dude, are you seriously? We're 2 decades in on this and the 40-year-old seasons are the ones that are going to break the tie. So, yeah, maybe. I just think LeBron's status and his fame probably leads it to a different level of scrutiny than, say, a Bird, but it's also just what it is today. I mean, these guys deal with hate in ways that generations have never experienced.
Who's the best player in the NBA?
Jokic. I don't really think it's, I hate, I always feel like every good point is ruined by somebody saying, I don't think it's close, but his control of a basketball game is unlike anything I've seen in a long time. And you could throw peak LeBron into that as well. I was out in Denver and I saw him again live. There was a game there. I go to Colorado regularly. There was a night where they were playing the Wizards, and I just asked, I was like, can I get a ticket? And I got a ticket. I was like, well, it's the Wizards. So all I want to do is watch Jokic. I just want to watch him. I'm going to watch him off the ball. I'm going to watch him with the ball. All I want to do is just watch him and his understanding and the way he dissects all of these different things. And what I always love too is like, it's a bit like Steph. It's a bit like Nash. Jokic could take 22 shots a game and they'd be good games and they'd be good looks. He was second in the MVP voting the one year he didn't win it to Embiid, and he took 14.7 shots per game. That's special to control a basketball game for the 30 plus minutes that you're out there. And his priority is actually not to try to find a way to get buckets, even though he could every single time. I know Giannis is on a tear right now. He was so impressive last night, but I love the way Jokic, I think this is like rarefied stuff, and I'm rooting for him to have a second ring in a way I wouldn't root for a lot of players, because I want him to be accepted by, I think, what becomes way too simple of a conversation of who the great ones are.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I think Denver did him a disservice. They didn't strengthen around him, and I don't think he's going to win a ring unless they get Jimmy Butler or somebody like that. You know, maybe that roster is not threatening. They're kind of an average team, but I don't know if he's putting up incredible numbers that are hard to ignore, even though we like team success to coincide with greatness, and I don't think that his team is going to let him down for another MVP.
I hope it's not Butler. You know, if he has a $50 million player option next year, like, it kind of gets back to your original point, Dan, too, of like, would LeBron like to go to Golden State? Just like, is that a solution or is that desperation? Is the team that wants Jimmy Butler at this stage of his career, is that a solution to what you're doing? Or are you talking about somebody who decides he's going to be a huge problem until he gets the contract extension? Now, his agent had said, hey, I'm going to opt out, whatever. It was just funny because I was looking at Jimmy Butler's numbers the other day. Jimmy Butler's taking 11 shots a game, and he's somehow taking 7.5 free throws a game. So it's kind of working, but if I'm trading for Jimmy at this age, I'm gonna need a few more shot attempts, because there's certain nights it looks like where I don't know if he's pacing himself or he's not super interested.
What do you think about this proposal? If I ask the commissioner, can we do away with the 3-point shot for a week in the NBA?
I'm open to anything now at this point. Okay. I really love the in-season tournament. I think it's a home run. I think Silver and everybody, like, I watch games and I feel like it's more intense than maybe you would think this time of year. So that is like a 10 out of 10. The play-in thing I didn't love, because I think certain years you're going to have teams that won like 36, 37 games in the East and be like, they get another run at this. You know, like, I'm upset about some of the college football expansion, but the event planning is basically what I'm leading here to. I think this is where all of this stuff is going. I would love a week of this. However, I would ask a lot of old school people like this, because I know that you're old school, Dan. I don't mean in age, I mean in education. Do you miss post play? Do you watch games now and be like, I just would love to see a Rick Smith's baseline entry pass right now? Do you miss it?
Okay.
I don't know if I miss it.
No, hold on. So you don't miss Akeem Olajuwon in the post?
Of course I miss it.
You don't miss Shaq in the post?
I don't know that Shaq in the post was... Akeem to me was more entertaining than Shaq was. McHale, all right, fine. Like, let's go through it all, but I don't know if I miss two-man basketball, entry pass on the block, three guys watching, never moving.
Do you miss the mid-range jumper, Ryan?
No, if I do, I just watch the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah,
right
Kevin
back.
Durant.
Great.
Kevin Durant, absolutely. Or
you see what I'm saying?
DeMar DeRozan.
I love it, because I think you're right. Like, the 3-point part of this is kind of messed it up, right? There are nights where I go, whoa, this isn't the best. I can't believe how quick some of the shots are. Some of the threes, I'm like, I get you want to take a lot of threes, but are these good shot decisions? We're even ready for the shot. But I wonder sometimes if we glorify just the Mark Jackson rule. It was like, hey, your post-ups take so long, we have to pass a rule.
You're too boringly efficient. We must take that out of the game. How about you get a 25 three-pointers attempts each game?
Yeah, kind of like a short porch with a men's softball league.
Use sparingly, save for the fourth quarter. Maybe you could keep it in without it being There are a lot of teams that shoot threes. There's a lot of teams that shouldn't shoot threes. But that's the whole math part of this.
Would Jordan Poole be cut that day?
He might be punched again. All right. I built up the suspense, the drama of you. So what year was this that you were trying to hook up with Megan Markle?
Well, I think I was asking her if she had any interest in promoting Suits. So there was that.
Okay, let's start with the game. Let's start with the game because you weren't promoting Suits on your radio show at the game, were you?
No. Yeah, I got invited to play in the DirecTV flag football thing. You know, I was easily, I think, the least famous person that played in it, but ESPN usually would get somebody to play in the game because DirecTV would want someone on the air to talk about it. I think I asked for $5,000 and they said, "How about zero?" And because everybody was getting paid. And then they told me they'd get me tickets to their DirecTV concert for the Super Bowl party. And then when I went to get the tickets, they weren't even there for me. So they stiffed me on the tickets too. So it was bad. It was a bad run for your boy. But Van Pelt and I were doing the show.
Okay, first time you meet her though. So the first time you see her on the are you teammates on the beach?
We're teammates.
Okay.
Yep. Blue team.
Okay.
So there's Jesse Palmer was my quarterback and we're buddies. So that helped a little bit. And there was a million swimsuit models from Sports Illustrated. I think Chrissy Teigen was on one of the teams, Serena Williams, although I think she was smart as a world-class athlete to not run around on the sand and play flag football. So there was just all these models everywhere, and it was also a lot of the athletes, you know? So I was playing defense in the first half, which is a funny story because Joe Montana was our coach, and she was playing defense. So when we get subbed out, we were just kind of bored off to the side and we were just kind of talking about anything because nobody was talking to me. And, I don't know. She was very girl next door-ish. And then I went up to Joe Montana and was like, "Hey, is there any way?" Because you know how the radio show works. If I go back on Monday with Van Pelt and I don't have a catch, I'm going to get crushed for 3 hours. So I go to Montana, who I'd met luckily once before. So there was it wasn't out of nowhere, although he didn't love my request. I was like, "Is there any way I can get like one possession on offense with a couple balls thrown at me for the radio show?" And Montana turns to me and goes, "Well, we got LaDainian Tomlinson and Tony Gonzalez, two bleeping Hall of Famers, Ryan, but let's get you out there for a possession." So I finally go to Palmer. I go, "Just give me one route and throw me the ball." I make a catch. And then I'd come back and, we'd all high five. And then I ended up catching the game-winning touchdown, which I still feel bad about because I spiked the ball in front of Desmond Howard and he hasn't talked to me in like 10 years. And I don't blame him too, because he was like, I was a little bit too much. And then girls were coming up to high five me and I still was so locked in on the game-winning touchdown that I just started marching through everybody, couldn't be phased. So anyway, the game is over. Confetti rains down. And then she and I were waiting for our cars to bring us back because they had organized all of our transportation. And I was like, "Hey, great meeting you, whatever." And then we followed each other. And all I did was ask if she wanted to come on the show with Van Pelt and I to promote Suits. And she said no. And that's it. I've told this story a couple times. But the funniest part of this whole thing is that years later, how Pierce Morgan went on this weird sharing episode of how he thought he was going to date her. Remember that? And he would talk about it. So because Carissa Thompson and Sarah Walsh, who we both worked with at ESPN and are really good friends, they knew the story. They thought it was hilarious that I asked her to come on the TV show or our TV show to promote hers. And she said no. That I ended up seeing these Pierce Morgan tweets. And then I would just tweet above his "Hey, I know you don't believe me, but it does get better." And that was kind of the inside joke. And so I did it a third time a year ago where I was like, "I am here for you if you need anything, Pierce." And he never responded, nor would I expect him to. I get a text from a different coworker who is like, "I don't understand your problem here. I think you're fine." A real pick me up text. And I'm sitting at home and I'm by myself and I read this text and I go, "I can't believe Jeff Van Gundy just texted me about a pick me up." Trying to boost me up that it's okay that Markle didn't want to, and he didn't know the story. So he actually sort of Pierce Morgan me, or I don't know how it works.
Did you think you had a shot though? You said you thought she was obtainable.
No, I think, well, that was a live show. So we were playing up to the crowd there a little bit. So there could be a semantics debate on that one. I felt like because it was like Hannah Davis and Nina Dobrev and Agdal, I think was
Nina
I lose
Agdal.
track.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a 5-star recruiting class. And so because of that and the other athletes, like we were just off to the side a bunch, kind of being like, who are they? And so it was just who knows? It could have been the start to our story, but I now think armed with this much information, I'm not sure that I could have provided the life she needed.
Okay. If I gave you a mulligan, what would you have done differently?
Well, you could argue that a hair transplant, but I think hair is not a priority to her.
No, Harry's holding on for dear life.
Yeah. So I don't think it's that. I don't know what else I could do. I talked Joe Montana to putting me on offense. I caught the game-winning touchdown. Obviously the competitive, maybe I was too competitive.
Oh, I think you've been accused of that, and I could see you being locked in. I could see that. It was very important to you. You just didn't celebrate the way you're supposed to. It should have been, yeah, I've been here before. And then you walk up to her and you say, hey, how about we go celebrate together?
With that tone?
Yeah.
Note for note?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that was going to happen. I think she lived in New York City too. So it was like it wasn't a huge
She actually left the country after this because of you, Ryan.
Wow, I didn't think it was going to go there.
She went to England to get away from you.
Honestly, there's probably somebody from USA Network listening to this right now being like, we would have loved to promote Suits.
Hey, it's made a comeback. It's like crazy. It's like, hey, have you seen Suits? I said, yeah, 10 years ago. Does anybody think that Ryan had a shot here? Let me go around the room here.
We just all say no.
Paulie's got his hand up.
I think, Ryan, you would have had a decent shot at that time. You're a confident guy, and I think you could have played it up in that moment and maybe gotten a dinner.
I really don't think so. I don't think so. I'm sure. I think at that point my name was on the show because that was always a tough one. You're like, what do? I host a radio show. Where? At ESPN. What's it called? The Scott Van Pelt Show.
Are you Scott Van Pelt? No. Why am I talking to you? Yes. Wow.
Can I get your drink?
Well, keep fighting the good fight. We're proud of you. You took a shot. Kind of.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I would say now the home base is a little bit better of a sell than I have a 3-bedroom townhouse in West Hartford, but they mow. HOA does a good job with the lawn and the plowing and stuff, and now we're situated out here in Manhattan Beach, still 3-bedroom, but no HOA.
You could have made her happy. She could have been behind you cooking breakfast right now.
Yeah, or I'm not real married to roles. Maybe I would cook.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
I'd be interviewing her. But I'm glad you got your name on your show, though. That
was big.
That was
big. And the touchdown.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for sharing.
Hey, you're the only person I do it for. You know how much I like you. I miss all the guys, so thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Ryan. That's Ryen Russillo, host of the Ryen Russillo podcast, The Ringer and Spotify.